Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. On a foggy morning, the Haiqi set sail slowly amidst the gently undulating waves. The morning light spilled over its thick iron armor, reflecting the traces left by time. This protected cruiser was once the pride of the Qing Navy. With a standard displacement of 4,300 tons and a full load displacement of 4,515 tons. It was powered by engines generating 17,000 horsepower, reaching a maximum speed of 24.215 knots. The ship measured 129.2 meters in length, 14.2 meters in width. With a draft of 5.45 meters, and a crew of 360 personnel. Its formidable armament included two 203mm main guns, 10 120mm secondary guns, 16 machine cannons, and 5 450mm torpedo tubes. This time, the Haiqi bore a secret and significant mission, to sail to distant Britain. To participate in the king's coronation ceremony. However, no one could have foreseen that this journey would become the Haiqi's final long voyage. In the waning days of the Qing Dynasty. Soon, amidst the rumble of the engines, the Haiqi cut through the waves and headed westward. The planned destination was Britain. But this voyage would extend far beyond its initial design. Ultimately reaching the shores of the Americas. The officers and sailors believed it was merely a routine diplomatic visit. But the sudden outbreak of anti-Chinese sentiment in Latin America would soon complicate their journey. From Cuba to Mexico, the Haiqi's voyage was no longer just an exchange of diplomatic courtesies, but a mission to safeguard national dignity and protect overseas Chinese communities. The Qing government sought to prove to the world that it still possessed the ability to defend its people. Historical records. According to historical records, in 1911, as the coronation ceremony of King George V approached, the Qing government dispatched the Haiqi to Britain, both to showcase the empire's strength and to conduct essential maintenance on the warship. Thus, the Haiqi embarked on a transoceanic voyage, braving turbulent seas, and eventually arrived in Britain. Upon arrival, the ship was warmly received by the British government and public, becoming a significant highlight of the coronation celebrations. After the ceremony, as planned, the Haiqi proceeded to its manufacturing company for a full-scale inspection and maintenance. This overhaul not only ensured the ship's seaworthiness and safety, but also upgraded its weapon systems to adapt to the evolving demands of naval warfare. During this maintenance period, the ship's crew had a rare opportunity to experience Western industrial advancements and cultural landscapes. A change in plans. Originally, the plan was for the Haiqi to return to China after maintenance. However, an invitation from the U.S. ambassador altered its course. The U.S. government showed great interest in this warship from the Far East, and saw it as an opportunity to strengthen Sino-American relations. After deliberation between the Qing government and the fleet commander, it was decided to accept the U.S. invitation, extending the voyage to the Americas. Arrival in the United States. Thus, after concluding its stay in Britain, the Haiqi did not return directly to China, but instead set sail for Philadelphia, United States. This decision reflected the Qing government's diplomatic adaptability at the time, and provided the ship's crew with a new maritime experience. During its transatlantic journey, the Haiqi endured multiple storms, demonstrating its excellent seafaring capabilities. Upon arrival in the United States, the Haiqi was warmly welcomed in Philadelphia, becoming a prominent feature in the local media. A sudden crisis. However, the Haiqi's stay in Philadelphia was brief. Shortly thereafter, a wave of anti-Chinese violence erupted across Latin America, drawing international attention. The violent incidents in Mexico particularly provoked a strong response from the Qing government. In light of these events, the Qing court swiftly issued orders for the Haiqi, which was already in the U.S., to sail southward to Latin America, demonstrating its concern and stance on the matter. Mission in Latin America. Following the Qing government's directive, the Haiqi embarked on its journey to Latin America, first setting course for Cuba. During the voyage, every member of the crew remained on high alert, preparing for their impending diplomatic mission. Upon arrival in Cuba, Captain Cheng Biguang and his crew were warmly received by the Cuban government. The Cuban authorities arranged multiple celebratory events and official meetings, underscoring their high regard for the Haiqi's presence. During these exchanges, the Cuban government promised to protect Chinese immigrants in Cuba, ensuring their safety and fair treatment. This commitment was particularly significant given the international climate at the time, as it not only shaped Cuba's domestic policies, but also influenced its global reputation and diplomatic relations with China. As the Haiqi prepared to depart for Mexico, the Cuban government once again reaffirmed its friendly stance towards China and extended its best wishes for the Haiqi's upcoming mission. When the Haiqi sailed into Mexican waters, the Mexican government had already realized China's serious concerns regarding the anti-Chinese incidents occurring within Mexico. Under the pressure of the Haiqi's presence and international public opinion, the Mexican government had no choice but to face the issue directly and promptly issued an apology to the Chinese government at the time. The apology was not merely a formality, it was accompanied by an investigation into the incidents, accountability for those responsible, and a commitment to compensating the affected Chinese expatriates. Although these apologies and compensations could not fully make up for the losses and suffering endured by the local Chinese community due to the anti-Chinese incidents, they symbolized the Mexican government's recognition of the issue and its willingness to resolve it. This series of actions by the Mexican government was not only a response to the Haiqi's mission but also an explanation to the international community, especially to the Chinese government of that time, demonstrating a shift in the Mexican government's stance under international pressure. Soon, the Haiqi completed its mission in the Americas and began its journey home. At that time, late Qing China was undergoing tremendous change. By the time the Haiqi approached China's coastal waters, the tide of the Xinhai Revolution had already swept across the country. Revolutionary movements emerged everywhere, bringing an end to centuries of imperial rule. When the Haiqi arrived at its home port, it was no longer a warship of the Qing Dynasty but a defender of a new era. Captain Cheng Biguang led the Haiqi and its crew, joining forces with other warships to form a formidable naval force that participated in the struggle against the remnants of the old regime. These warships no longer bore the emblem of imperial rule, instead, they carried the hopes of revolution and national rebirth. Later, in 1937, as the full-scale war against Japanese aggression broke out, Japan's invasion advanced rapidly, and the flames of war spread to China's eastern coastal regions. In particular, the outbreak of the Battle of Shanghai marked the beginning of large-scale land and naval confrontations between China and Japan. The Japanese Navy, relying on its superior maritime power, pushed southward, posing a severe threat to China's coastal cities. At this critical moment of national survival, the Haiqi and its crew made an incredibly courageous decision to scuttle the ship, blocking the Japanese advance and delaying their offensive. This decision was made under extremely difficult circumstances, with the aim not only of defending China's sovereignty and territorial integrity but also of doing everything possible to weaken the enemy's momentum and buy valuable time for the war effort. In the final moments before its sinking, the crew held a brief yet solemn ceremony, saluting their homeland and bidding farewell to their comrades. Following the plan, they opened the sea valves, allowing the icy river water to rush into the hull. The Haiqi gradually tilted and eventually sank into the Yangtze River. The Haiqi and 11 other warships that were scuttled successfully blocked the waterway that the Japanese forces were set to pass through. slowing their advance along the Yangtze River and into China's interior. In their final act, they fulfilled their duty to protect the nation. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone, and see you in the next time.